All right, Ethan. So you and I were just having a brief catch up before hitting record. And I said, whoa, 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 let's speak about what we were about to speak about and let's record it. Let's turn it into an episode. And that was this idea or this concept of kind of building a business by accident or opportunities, almost said opportunities falling in your lap. It's not necessarily that. It's off the back of the work that you've been doing and now the work that is coming your way. And you are in that position where there's been more, I'm going to call it agency, marketing agency type work coming your way. But more specifically, your lens on it is putting an AI flavored marketing agency and offering AI flavored marketing solutions to your customers that you're working with. And you made an interesting comment. You said it's not what I set out to do. I know you've always enjoyed obviously the AI side, and you've enjoyed the marketing side, and it's something that you're passionate about. But all of a sudden, it seems like there's quite a demand for what it is that you're doing, and you found yourself possibly scaling another business. So I'd love to hear more about that and dive into that as a topic.
Yeah. So as you know, I got started in this because I'm in a non-tech business, but I learned tech, let's say 15 years ago, and implemented it in my own business to grow it. So now I've been speaking about AI and automation. And what I've found is over the past couple of years, a pattern. Like I'm speaking to people like me, non-techie people who I'm like, you can do this yourself. You can implement this yourself today and grow your non-tech business. And I'm very passionate about teaching and inspiring others and showing them practical ways to help them to improve their own lives and businesses. Something that happens is a lot of people will be like, okay, that's great. Now I'm fired up. I know what we need to do. Now, can I just hire you to do it for me? And that was not my intention starting out. I'm just passionate about the strategy and the teaching part of it. Not so much, I didn't want to go down the agency road,
Okay.
but I found myself working with some pretty impressive clients, and I have taken on some agency work doing AI and automation. And one thing I teach, Justin, is think about AI differently. Don't think about it like tech. Think about it like building digital team members to help to
Yeah.
work alongside your human team members. And each of these digital assistants, these digital team members handle specific tasks in your business. So now you can delegate to AI agents or whatever you want to call them. So we started building those out for people, and that has become the agency.
And at what point did you decide to start taking this work on rather than saying, no, that's a distraction from my speaking and a distraction from the other work that you're doing and a distraction from your existing businesses? What has made you say, okay, I'm going to lean into this?
It kind of happened gradually over time with do a keynote or a workshop, and there's someone in the audience who will reach out to me, book a consultation, and then ask if I can do it for them. And honestly, at first it was a little bit of a twisting of my arm. I actually said no the first time. I was like, nah, I don't do agency work. And then they kept asking and asking and asking, like, no, I want to work with you. And I'm very honored. That's very gratifying to hear. So I thought about it. I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. It'd be fun to work on. It would be fun to actually build it. I like this other individual. So I do have the benefit of being able to be selective about which clients I take on. And I also want to be sure that my team can handle the workload. So, I have a couple of assistants that work with me, and I want to make sure that it's in alignment with our core values and that what we take on, I'm not just saying yes to anyone. So I remember very early in my business, some 25 years ago, I would say yes to everything because I needed the money, still trying to figure things out. So I'm fortunate to be in a position to where I can be more selective now. So I decide who I'm going to work with and who I'm not going to work with. But over time, like saying yes that first time and then realizing, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. This is enjoyable. It's also pretty lucrative. And then I'll say yes to another one. And now I've had a pretty full roster of clients on the agency side. So I'm thankful for that.
And as you lean into it more and you give it more thought, where do you think your head is at around what is it that you want to build there? What do you want this to become?
We shall see. We'll see what 2026 has and
Yeah.
beyond. To be honest, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. We'll see where this leads. I did not anticipate being here a year ago, but I'm thankful for it. So we'll see we'll see where next year takes us. I do plan on continuing to automate processes, double down on what's working, and doing more of that. Just like in my other businesses, cutting out things that have friction and that I don't enjoy doing, and then doubling down on the things that are, as Joe Polish likes to say, easy, lucrative, and fun. So I don't know if you follow Joe Polish of Genius Network, but he has this saying about most entrepreneurs are in a half business,
Mm.
HALF, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. So get out of that half business and get into an elf business, easy, lucrative, and fun. And that's where I'm at now. And I want to make sure that I stay in that zone because my business has definitely went through seasons where it feels like a half business, hard, annoying,
Yeah.
lame, and frustrating. So, as I get older, I have to be more judicious with my time. And that's all I want to do is elf stuff.
So I love that, and I haven't heard it previously. But what I want to maybe focus on and go back to is you've got yourself into a position that you did not plan for, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs and other people I've dealt with will always feel that you're not going to achieve something unless you've mapped out this perfect plan for it. And it doesn't always have to be perfectly linear, but you've got to have a vision of where you're wanting to go. And if you don't have that perfect vision of where you're wanting to go, then how do you get there? And once you've got the vision, then you've got to scale it back all the way to typical operating systems, business operating systems, scaling up, strategic coach, EOS, whatever you're wanting to call it. It's the vision and then scale it back to your next 90 days. And what's happening on your side is almost blowing that out of the water. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but things can also materialize and happen quite organically. And we've got to know when that's happening and when to lean into it. And I know you are, I mean, you've spoken about automation. I know you are a process guy. And I know in one of our previous episodes, you've also spoken about reflection and planning and looking back on where you've been previously and mapping out where you're wanting to go to from here. So how does this fit in with the way you usually operate? Because you haven't planned for it. It's something that's not necessarily unexpected, but it
Yeah.
wasn't what you set out to achieve.
Yeah. What's interesting, Justin, as I look back on my life, it's a pattern. This is the same way I
Mm.
ended up in my first business, which was Stuff for Greeks. And it started as a school project when I was in college, where we had to create this fictitious company and design the website and the logo and the brand and all the marketing collateral around this fictitious business. So at the time, I had just recently pledged my fraternity, and I decided I was designing all the stuff for the Greeks on campus. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to call this company Stuff for Greeks, and I actually bought the domain name, and that ended up becoming a real business. So it was kind of the same pattern, because what happened is back then we launched the website live on the web, but now this was in the early 2000s, and we got picked up on this brand new thing called Google, and our competitors were still advertising in the yellow pages in the phone book. So we were at the top of Google. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know about SEO at the time. And really, all of this was kind of new, but we were hitting all the right keywords. So that's why we started getting orders from people across the country who we didn't know. And then now Stuff for Greeks is still one of the top players in e-commerce for fraternity and sorority gear. Now, that happened very accidentally. In fact, when we started the company, I was only doing graphic design services for people. So like I would draw up their jackets and stuff and their flyers, and I'd say, go get your jacket made in your town go find a seamstress or whatever it's called. Go get your jacket made. And people were like, no, I don't have anybody. I want you to actually make the jacket. I didn't know how to make jackets, but I eventually said yes. And I remember this girl paid us like $200, and we had to go figure out how to make her jacket. And so here we are today, where we've made thousands and thousands of jackets. So it definitely has been a pattern in my life. And since you asked me that question, now I'm thinking, you hear these entrepreneurs talk about how they had this grand vision and they planned everything out. I think now that I look at it, I think that's complete bullshit. I think everybody just pivots, and like you
Yeah.
have to adapt. You have to flow like water. I mean, look at Amazon, for example. Amazon started out selling books. Now, their biggest revenue stream now is the servers, AWS.
Yeah.
Do you think, I mean, I don't know, maybe when Jeff Bezos started out
No way. No
back,
way.
yeah, there's no way, right? Did he really know, okay, we're going to do books, and then we're going to sell everything, and then we're going to do cloud servers? No, he adapted, and he saw opportunities. He might, I don't know if he does, but There are a lot of people who might say that now. It's easier to look backwards and say, yeah, this was the path and this was our plan all along. But I think 9 times out of 10, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's those micro pivots along the way. But I think for you, do you think you're still serving what you ultimately set out to do, but it possibly in a different way? Like you said, with regards to this agency that you're almost falling into needing to create right now, what it actually does is it helps to fast track people achieve the thing that ultimately you want them to achieve anyway. If we have to think about it, you still, that's your vision, that's your success metric. And we might sometimes think that it's got to do with, well, the type of business that you're wanting to build. That's part of it. But you're still working towards how you're wanting to help other people, how you're wanting to educate other people, how you're wanting them to have the success, how you're wanting their businesses to prosper or them prosper as individuals. So you're still working towards that. And maybe that's the thing that keeps you moving forward. It's still ultimately, it hasn't changed what that ultimate goal is of what you're wanting people to receive from you at the end of the day. Just the mechanism is slightly different to that which you had envisioned originally.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's also, if I'm being honest, like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if they don't hire me to do it, they're going to hire someone to do it. So it may as well be me. And
Yeah.
then I also know that there are a lot of people out here teaching AI and automation who really don't have the background. They're just, and I'm not trying to put anyone down, but there are some people who are very, very, way more well versed in AI than I am. And I'm very, I'm straight up. I'm like, hey, I'm a non tech guy, but here's what I learned, practical stuff to implement in my business. And I teach what I know. I'm not Sam Altman. I'm not Elon Musk. I didn't invent the AI algorithms. I'm not out here like building. I'm not a full stack developer or any of that kind of stuff. I don't even really know much coding. So I'm very honest about that. But there are some people who literally just learned ChatGPT like, a few months ago and they're like, oh, I'm an AI expert now. So I say that because I don't want, if I care about the success of my clients or anyone that I've taught, I don't want to see them waste their money either. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I might as well help them and make sure that they're getting it done right.
So if we had to start wrapping this up in a king move or a lesson or a realization that you've had, and like you've said, if you think back now along your career, this is a pattern, and you've noticed it more often than not. So what do you think it is about the way you've approached opportunities that's allowed you to create a pattern and recreate this, where you've been moving towards something, then noticed other opportunities along the way, which has allowed you to grow businesses in the process of doing that?
Yeah. I would say first, depends on what stage you are in business, but for me, like start out just passionately sharing or doing whatever it is you're interested in, but then pay attention to signals from the universe and listen to what your customers are asking for. Because sometimes there's something else in there. It could be a side effect of something of your core offer, and there may be a side part that's more attractive. So Kingsford is a brand of charcoal that people use for grilling, for like barbecuing. Well, that was a byproduct. Kingsford was actually Henry Ford's cousin, and the charcoal was a byproduct of the Ford cars being manufactured. So at first they just treated it like waste. But when you take that waste as a byproduct and that now you actually sell it, you have a whole industry of charcoal. That's just one example of how we have to pay attention to byproducts of things that we do in our business. So for me, and this applies to service-based businesses too. So for me, with the speaking, the byproduct ended up being actually doing the agency work, and I leaned into that. With the Stuff for Greeks business, originally it was the design work that I was doing, and as a byproduct, the jackets were just one small part of what we were offering, the
Yeah.
jacket design, but then that ended up becoming a main line. So my king move for people would be look at what you're doing and listen for what demand and needs and where there's a void in the marketplace. And perhaps there's a byproduct of your main offer that you could lean into as another revenue stream.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm trying to articulate or come up with a king move that linked to also not looking at everything as a shiny object that takes your focus away from keeping the main thing somewhat the main thing. And I don't know, I don't know what that is, but I suppose that would be my 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 king flag is there's there's two sides to this, because if we look at every nuance or every new request as a potential opportunity, it also just means that we are then chasing anything and everything, and we're going to actually not move forward in any way at all. So be on the lookout for real opportunities, but also be where the faux opportunities is
Yeah.
possibly a way to say it, because yeah,
Yeah.
that means we're going to be dead in the water.
You bring up a good point, and yet your king move is kind of a counter to my king move because we have to watch
Yeah,
out for that shiny object syndrome. And I agree with that 100%. One thing I didn't say that I should have said is that these requests were repeated over and over and over
yeah.
again. It
There we
wasn't
go.
just a one person said, "Hey, I want this," and then I decided to go all in on that. It's when I kept hearing it, and you keep getting this repeated nudges from the universe. That's when you need to pay attention.
When you keep bumping into the same opportunity,
And
maybe
when
ask it
someone
on a date.
actually right, and when someone actually pays you money for it, not say they
Yeah,
would pay you money, but actually pays you for it
there we go.
multiple times, then you know that you have something that's viable in the marketplace. So don't just go off of a hunch, and don't just go off of one request or one suggestion. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, amazing. I appreciate you sharing your story.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Ethan.